Hey there, welcome to Focus on Tourism. I'm your host Ajwa, and I'm super excited to explore all things travel and tourism with you. Get ready for some amazing discussions, expert views, and insights. Let's dive in the world of tourism together. We are supported by Hansonic Hotel in Dansoman. If you want to support this program, you can contact us on our social media handles below and the various numbers as well. Here with me today is Mr. Emmanuel Frimpong, the president of Africa Tourism Research Network. And today we are here to talk on accessibility in tourism. You're welcome once again, Mr. Frimpong.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Frimpong. So today our main topic, our main focus is on accessibility in tourism. And we all know that accessibility is kind of including or making tourism accessible to everyone, even including the disability people or people in need. What more can you add to this topic?
Well, this is an extremely important topic. It is important because the UN Sustainable Development Goals requires that we don't leave anyone behind. And if we are developing tourism, then we have to develop it in such a way that even those who are physically challenged, the older people, children, and everyone is taken care of in the development of our infrastructure and our facilities. Now, unfortunately, we live in a country where we don't pay attention to such group of individuals. Therefore, we unconsciously cut them off from accessing our infrastructure, our tourism attraction sites. And recently, African Tourism Research Network did a research which we haven't published yet, but the findings are quite, I would say, outrageous, because we built hotels, we built roads, we built facilities without thinking of the physically challenged, the aged, and even children. We just build the hotels, the rooms are not fitted for such people to use. So I think it is important we look at it carefully.
That is very true, because obviously we can't leave anyone behind when it comes to tourism. But we know that when it comes to the importance of inclusive tourism, we talk about the infrastructure and the facilities, like what you just made mention that we leave that one out. Can you talk about how we can actually help improve that?
As a country, we have policies that is supposed to take care of the physically challenged or the disabled and even the aged. So one of the things that we need to do is, how are we enforcing our building codes, which requires these structures to make sure that you provide accessibility to those who are physically challenged and the elderly. So if we have that in place, then what happens is that every building that is supposed to be a public building has accessibility opportunity for those who are disabled or physically challenged. Now, if you go to even ministries, I can tell you most of the ministries have no access for such people. So if you are physically challenged and you want to go to third, fourth, fifth, sixth floor in a ministry, of course, most of the access that's supposed to take you through the like excavators or we don't have them. So what it means is that you don't even want to struggle to go to the top. Then you are denied access to these facilities. Then you go to hotels. Most of the hotels, especially the budget hotels, the 1-star, 2-star, 3-star hotels, don't have accessibility for such physically challenged people. So if we want to promote tourism, especially domestic tourism, then automatically we've cut these people off. They cannot access these facilities. Then you also think of accessibility in terms of cars that they are supposed to use to go to these places. We do not have cars that are made specifically for such people to use. All the public transport that we have is not suited for such people to use. And unfortunately, we also have a society where taxi drivers, Uber drivers don't have patience for such people. So the moment they see you that you are physically challenged, then you stop them, they are not ready to stop for you to use them. So these are things that we need to bring to the minds of the public to be able to allow such people to access, and we need to be conscious, we need to be intentional about doing that.
Actually agree with you on that, because imagine if the disability patient or someone with a special need has no access to his own car, then obviously this person cannot go on these tourist sites to experience anything. Wow. We also talk about information and communication. So how best can these be communicated to the people out there to understand?
Again, that also comes back to being conscious of such group of people. For instance, if you have somebody who is blind, somebody who has hearing challenges, how do you communicate to that person? That person comes to your attraction sites. I have not gone to any attraction site where there's braille or where the tour guide is trained to be able to communicate to or with such individuals. So we have to be conscious, have to make provisions for such people. For instance, Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park. How do you take this person through to also experience what he or she is supposed to experience? The person has challenged in hearing. How do you communicate to that person to be able to literally hear or understand what you want to communicate, for the person to also experience what he or she needs to experience? So we need to be able to, as a country, develop our communication gadgets in such a way that these people can also benefit from what we are providing as a tourism destination.
Actually, I agree with you on this communication. We have to be conscious indeed when it comes to these things, to understand that it's not only for people that are not physically challenged, but it involves everyone as a whole. But also about your training and awareness. Do we have to then have a training program set for these people, or is it just about talking to them? How do we do that?
Well, first of all, I think we should have a policy. Yes, we have some policies, but enforcement has always been a challenge in this country. We will have all the best policies in the world, but when it comes to enforcing it, it is always a challenge. But you also need to train the people, the frontline persons. For instance, the tour guides, as part of their training, we should be able to train them in how they should handle those who are physically challenged. And then also, we also need to have specialized groups who have been trained already to communicate with such people, to be trained as tour guides, to be trained as front office persons, to work in our hotels, in our restaurants, so that when they come, then they'll be able to communicate well with such people.
But with all these things, Mr. Frimpong, do you think that there should be a collaboration with the government and also the private, or the government alone can handle this?
No, tourism is always public-private partnership led. The government cannot do it alone, private sector cannot do it alone. Academia should also be involved, so that whatever courses they are developing, they will put it as part of the curriculum to be able to train such people. So it has to be that kind of partnership. So all of us have to come together and develop a training manual where we all play our role. Private sector will also understand what they need to do to be able to employ such people. As part of our research, we also looked at how many people who are physically challenged or people who have some impairment are working in hotels in these areas. We couldn't find many. In fact, just about 3 people that we were able to identify, which is not good. So we should be able to be conscious about that, be intentional about getting these people involved in the tourism sector.
I totally understand now. But in spite of all these things, obviously there are going to be some challenges. And with some of the challenges, we know that lack of awareness is one of the challenge. So can you throw more light on that?
Well, lack of awareness is a challenge, but I think consciously we know. So what we need to do is, just like you are doing now, we have to let people know that we care about those who are physically challenged. and they also have a role to play. The SDGs requires us to do that, so we can't leave anyone behind. We have to create a space for them. People with autism, we should allow them to work in their own way, be patient with them, and give them that space so that they can also contribute to economic development.
Do you think we can also allow these physically challenged to be working in these tourist sites? Is it allowed or not at all?
Why not? It's allowed. There is no policy that bars anybody from working there. But you see, sometimes we prefer convenience to any other thing. Oh, if this person comes to work here, would that person be okay? Sometimes we also over empathize. We sympathize with them so much that we don't allow them to give their best, right? They want to work and they can work, but we look down on themselves. That's one. And then we also sympathize too much with them to the extent that we don't allow them to contribute, which is wrong. Yes, there are some things that physically challenged people will struggle to do, but they can do. What we need to do is that we need to be patient with them. They cannot be that active as somebody who is not physically challenged, but they be allowed to work in their own space and in their own space, so that we don't restrict them. If it takes me 5 minutes to get to a certain place to do a certain job, I should be able to allow somebody who is physically challenged maybe 20, 30, 40 minutes to also do the same job. Not that they cannot do, they can do, but the pace with which they work is obviously different from the pace that I work.
Another challenge that we can face is probably the cost and resources. So how can this be actually a challenge? Because I don't think bringing a physically challenged person can be at cost. Maybe you can tell me more about it.
Well, I don't think it does bring a cost in that sense. If you look at it carefully, maybe it takes time for them to carry out certain responsibilities. But that is where the government should be able to encourage these organizations that if we employ these people, then you have a tax rebate or tax holiday. There should be some incentive for them to employ them, because obviously as a private person you are looking at cost, you are looking at profitability. So if there's a job that somebody who is not physically challenged can use 1 hour to do, and somebody who is physically challenged will use 2-3 hours to do, you want to employ the person and you are supposed to pay them the same amount. You want to employ the person who will do it within 1 hour. Therefore the government should be able to incentivize you, to motivate you to employ physically challenged people, and that should balance.
I really like what you just said there. When it comes to complex regulations, it's been a challenge in accessibility in tourism. What more can you say about that?
You see, when it comes to this group of people, for me, we have to be very conscious about what we do, and we must be intentional. So you cannot compensate what they do to any challenge that you may face. So I don't think it should be a problem, and we shouldn't have policies that will restrict them. We shouldn't have policies that will look down on them. We shouldn't have policies that will not give them that space, that opportunity to contribute. Every policy that we have must be able to encourage them to be excited about contributing to development of the economy. So I don't think there should be anything of any sort that should be a challenge or a hindrance to what they contribute to the economy.
In accessibility of tourism, we talk about cultural and attitudinal behaviors or barriers. This poses a challenge to accessibility in tourism. What do you think about that?
Yes, and it's interesting that even in the Bible, the Almighty God says, we have made His work ineffective because of our culture. So that tells you that culture is very, very, very powerful. Culture defines a community, a society, a country, right? So if we buy into the culture of when we have physically challenged people in our homes, we have to be subtle, we have to take care of them. They don't have to do certain things, they are not strong enough, they are not this, so it becomes a culture. Therefore we take it to workplaces. So if I work with somebody who is physically challenged, then I have to sympathize with the person. I don't have to give the person too much work to do. I have to do almost everything for the person. No, they can contribute as much as we contribute. Therefore, we have to give them the space. So if we have a culture that says, oh, let's keep them as an egg, then we have to deal with that culture. And how do we deal with that culture? Let's start from the younger generation. Let's start from the schools. Let's use our churches. Let's use our mosque. Let's use our communities. Let's allow these people to be able to also function in the community. In the area of political activeness, these people should be active in whatever we are doing in politics, in church, in religion, in every aspect of our society. They must be seen. We must have them on screens. They should be able to work as newscasters. They should be able to work as camera people. They should be able to work as anything. If we have one who is a doctor, who is a physician, who is a sports person, let's throw a lot more light on them for society to know that yes, they can do this. If they go to play any sports, we should put more light on them for people to know that, oh yeah, this person is handicapped in one hand, in one leg. Therefore, if this person can do this, then somebody else can do that. Then gradually we change our cultural mindset or our traditional mindset on what these people can contribute.
Thank you so much once again, Mr. Frimpong, for being here again on Focus on Tourism. Your knowledge and your insights has actually helped me as an individual when it comes to even helping people with special needs and also the people out there watching you today. Thank you so much once again. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, CHTV, for having me. It's always a joy to be here, and we hope and pray you continue with the good work that you are doing, and also educate people on tourism and potentials of tourism, the opportunities, the enormous opportunities in tourism, and how people can also participate in it. So thank you.
Thank you to everyone for joining us today on another episode for Focus on Tourism. Thank you to Hansonic Hotel for supporting this program. Thank you to our media crew, CH Tourism TV, and also join us for another episode next time.